Hello, today we're going to talk about value stream mapping basics. So, this is part two in a four-part series that we have on value stream mapping. In this video, we're going to talk about the basics of a value stream map, what it looks like, what it includes, so that we can go ahead in the next video and construct one with an example from the game Stardew Valley. So, let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at a value stream map. So, this is what a value stream map looks like. You may notice it looks quite different from a process flow diagram or a swim lane chart. Now, some of the distinguishing features within a value stream map are going to be the information flow and the lead time ladder. So, this is going to really add another layer of detail to any of the process flow diagrams that we've done in the past. Now, we always start with the material flow, seeing how the movement of products or services goes from our supplier to our customer. Then we're going to take a look at the information flow. So, how do the instructions and information flow from what the customer wants to our organization and back out to what we request from our supplier? Finally, we're going to add in that data. And that data is going to be represented ultimately in our lead time ladder, where we can see the total time it takes a product or service to move through our entire value stream. Now, that means if a product or service started to be worked on today, we could see from the start to the end how long it would take to actually be delivered to our customers. There are some symbols that are going to be common in our value stream maps. This is by no means exhaustive. So we have our customer and supplier. They're usually represented by these little factory symbols, and sometimes they even have a smokestack. Our inventory is always going to be that triangle. Our Kaizen burst is going to be those opportunities for improvement that we're going to put up on the map. The electronic information and manual information that really comes into play in that information flow. So this is where we can see whether or not we're transmitting that information via some kind of electronic record or if we're just doing that manually. In each of our process steps, we're going to have a process box. That's going to list the process that we're focused on, but it's also going to give us some of that data. And then we have our arrows that go between those process steps. And in this case, we have a very basic material flow arrow. There are additional arrows to show push and pull that you could use if you wanted to take on that level of complexity. So let's take a look at the first section that you would take on if you were leading a value stream map. And that first section is going to be your material flow. Now, what I want us to look at first are these process steps. So, these are going to be the core process steps. This is going to be the top 5 to 7 steps in our process. This is going to be quite different than a process flow diagram, where we may go into a level of detail that we're not going to go into here. Here, what we want to see are those top value added steps, those top steps that our customer cares about and changes our product or service in some way. So we don't want to see that the product goes from process A and process B without any kind of transformation. So each of these are steps that transform our product or service on the way to our customers, which means we may need to roll a lot of smaller steps up into these high level steps. Next, we're going to think about our customer and our supplier. So, our customer is going to be who we deliver to. So, our process flows from our supplier. This might also show how our materials are transported. So, we'll see how things move from our supplier through this value stream, and then how are those things getting out to our customers. In the middle, we're going to see these triangles in between each of our process steps that quantify how many raw materials or work in progress or finished goods are sitting in between these process steps. Underneath each of these process steps is going to be additional data. So, for example, if you see this little C with a circle in it, this represents a person. So, that would represent how many people are working in this process. And then we have our data table with all kinds of data that we are going to use to understand this process and if it's healthy or not, if it's creating a bottleneck for us. Once we have that material flow documented, we're going to then look at the information flow. But the customer is going to be who that product or service is going to be delivered to. That's usually going to be external, but sometimes this may be internal. The supplier is going to be where the materials of the process are acquired. So this could be an external vendor or this could be an internal process that's downstream of yours. In the middle, you're going to see any of that production control that you have in place. So, this may be software applications, it may be databases, it may be some kind of communication system. And then we have our arrows in between that indicate how that information flows. Now, you may have one arrow you see this is one direction, but sometimes you'll have two headed arrows that show that the communication flows in both directions. So, the information flow arrows are going to show how that data moves between our customer and supplier and maybe even out into our process. You may also want to identify those specific communications. So here we have a weekly order or a monthly order that we're able then to send out to from our customer to our supplier to make sure that we have what we need. So you can call out those specific forms of communication. And then finally, we have our lead time ladder. Now, our lead time ladder is where all that data comes together for us to see how long it would take a product or service to move through this entire process and be delivered to our customer. So, at the top, we're going to have our production lead time. So, if you were to work through the entire backlog, everything in the inventory in those triangles, how long would it take? In the bottom, we have our processing time. So that's the time it takes to process one item in this in this process. So how long does it take to get through the cycle time of that one item? At the end, we're going to have that summary that tells us the total production lead time and the total processing time. If we combine those, then we can get that total lead time that tells us how the entire process is flowing and how long it would take something to go from our supplier to our customer. Let's look at a few examples. And I know these are not maybe the quality that we would like to see, but they do highlight a few things. So, in this first example, we can see that visual that we talked about. So, we can see our customer here. There's a market forecast that goes into this production control, and then there's monthly forecasts and weekly orders that go out to our supplier. There's also a weekly schedule that goes out to the production supervisor, and then they manually go out and work this daily schedule within each of these process steps. So if we start from our customer, we can see that information flow here. We can see here they have the inventory triangles in red. And in this case, it might be hard to see, but they have 200 items at the start here before we even get into the process. And then there's milling, welding, painting, inspection. All of these change the product or service in some way. And at the bottom, we have that lead time ladder that tells us how long it's taking for our products or services to go through each of these steps. Now, what we can see here is that this step takes 7 minutes. So, no matter how quick the other process steps are, with maybe 2 minutes or 2 minutes and 4 minutes, we can never deliver a product or service faster than 7 minutes. So, painting would be the place that maybe we would want to focus our efforts. And I know this one is not great in terms of the quality, but I want you to get an idea of that visual that we're looking for and how different this might look from a process flow diagram. Let's look then at a manual example. So, this is something that somebody has written on a piece of paper. And so we can see here that same flow. It looks very similar, right? We can see that information flow, material flow, and lead time ladder. So we have our customer. They give a 3 weeks forecast. It goes to the production control, and that 3 weeks forecast goes to our supplier with maybe one time per week. They have an order that goes to their supplier. That supplier then delivers the items one time a week. There's inventory here. We have process one, process two, process three, and then shipping back to that customer. Now, here there's also a daily shipping order that we can see that information flow to shipping so that we get that out to our customer. At the bottom here, we can see our lead time ladder, and we can see it takes 10 seconds, 60 seconds, 150 seconds, and 20 seconds. We can also look in each of these and see that there's data like cycle time and the number of people in each process. Now, if we were going to go ahead and make an improvement here, it looks like process three would be where we would want to focus because it takes 150 seconds. So, no matter how fast we make the other steps in our process, we can never deliver a product or service faster than 150 seconds. So if we wanted to look at improvements, we would look at process 3. In our final example here, let's take a look at something that's not a typical look at a value stream map. And that's okay. You're going to make this, once you get used to value stream mapping, you're going to make this work for you. Now, that's my opinion. Some other consultants or mentors may say different things. But in my opinion, we want these tools to work for us, not us to work for these tools. So ultimately, the intent here is for us to identify bottlenecks. So if your value stream is helping you to do that, then you're on the right track, right? So in this case, somebody has taken this to help them identify a bottleneck. It is not a classic example of a value stream, but it is a version that they've created. And so here you can see they do some kind of an audit. When they do the audit, they list the users, they filter the users, and they reset the license before it's done. Now, in each of these steps, you can see the lead time and the cycle time. The cycle time is the same for each of these, but we can see in this first step, the lead time is 8 hours. So, if we were going to make an improvement on any of these process steps, this is probably where we would want to start, is to understand why it's taking 8 hours to list the users and to focus our improvement efforts here until we get to the point that this may be down to 4 hours or 3 hours, in which we then could look at the next bottleneck in our process. And so, with that, that gives us really that high level view of what a value stream looks like, how it works, and gives us a start on how we can start to construct this for ourselves. So, next, we're going to look at an example from Stardew Valley. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me at Beautiful Opportunities Consulting. We are always here to help you build those thriving process improvement programs and to find a mentor that can really unlock these tools for you. Thank you so much and have a wonderful day. Happy improving.